Hello there, this is Andrew, and I'm going to discuss some points with regards to my recent experience living in this world, and look at this in relation to an equal money system, but for now I'm just going to start with talking about my experience within the current system. Um, so what does this current system contain and consist of? So this experience that I'm going to discuss here is in relation to a job that I was working um, at a horse ranch. And so basically I'm just going to give my observations in terms of what I saw with regards to the system that was put in place at this particular horse ranch to sort of keep everything moving. And it's interesting because I'm comparing this to my experience on the Destiny farm and the system that they had in place to sort of keep everything functioning and moving, and looking at the difference between the two. Um, so I remember my first day there, one of the first days there, um, we were out building fences, and there were these horses that were way out in this field, and they had this structure placed out in the field which was there to block wind, because if it gets really windy or cold, they can they can stand in the structure. Okay, um, that's funny. Um, so, anyways, what I noticed was that okay. Okay, so what I noticed was uh, there was this structure out in the field, and this is where they go to prevent themselves from, having the cold air blow on them in the wintertime, and just for shelter. Now, it's basically just two walls like that put together, and they can sort of stand in there. Now, in this case, one of the walls was completely fallen down, and it initially struck me as odd, though not completely, from the perspective that this world and this system is falling down and collapsing and crumbling, and there's simply no time to stop and provide practical support in this world. Practical physical support, meaning you create the necessary structures that will support individuals and beings on this earth, animals included, so that you don't have to stand out in the cold or sleep on the street. And so this was like one of my first days there, and the structure was falling down, and I I discussed it. I said, "Oh, should we pull, get that up?" And in discussion, basically, it was like, "Yeah," but that had been sitting there for months and months and months. And even more shocking was when I went over there, there were, like, you have the wall, and or the wall like this, and then you have these three sort of beams, like so. Okay? Now this wall, it had fallen over. So, like, fell over. And on those three beams, there were large spikes, like nails, like sticking straight up. So there was 6 sections of these nails sticking straight up, like nails like this. And this was where the horses eat. They just stand around there and eat. And even as I was discussing the point with them, a horse walked right across this structure, like right over these boards. I mean, it was like, what happens if a horse steps on one of those things? I mean, it's obviously it was completely a danger and a hazard to the horse. And so basically, as I was there, I began to notice all of these points. Um, for instance, when you're working on, the fences and so forth, it's like the equipment is just like strewn out on the ground, and the horses are, walking all around there, and it's quite a hazard if a horse were to get tangled up. But it's like you have to keep going. You have to get it up, get the fence up, and get moving, because the way that everything is designed and the way that system has been designed within this world system is that you cannot stop. You have to go, because if you don't meet specific checkpoints, you will not get money in to keep everything moving, to keep food on your plate. Other examples were um, the fences in themselves were broken, like boards were broken off in the middle, and there were sharp, you know, points sticking out in almost every stall, and the horses are running around in there. Um, I mean, this doesn't even start to consider the greater picture from the perspective of why are animals in cages in the first place. Um, I mean, they're treated like a commodity. An animal is only put in cages like that because that whole system and structure is designed around money and to facilitate making money. So therefore, you line them up in stalls. You don't really consider how much space they actually need, because, I mean, in today's economic system, you can't afford to buy space. So it's like um, the control is extensive in terms of money being a directive principle. And so there's broken boards. This one instance the other day, I noticed right where the animal drinks the water, there's like a board that has come loose, and there's this massive spike, like nail, right sticking out right where the animal's going to go and drink. And I looked at it, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't spend even whatever it would take, 5 minutes, to walk over, get a hammer, walk back, and bend the nail over. And that's just one nail of hundreds that I'm sure are sticking out everywhere. Because that kind of thing is not important. Um, if I were to stop for that 5 minutes, I would miss one of the checkpoints that is essential in creating money. And so I just had to keep going with what I was doing, because I basically was there to do the basics, to just keep everything moving. And it was quite interesting because I would arrive at 7 in the morning and found that I would work straight through till 5 at night, not stopping at all. If I really pushed it, I could get in like a 15-minute break to eat. But mostly I just would grab food and, have a drink and then go back. Because they're obviously, working at minimal costs, giving out as little as possible to get back as much as possible. That's sort of how the system works to get money. Um, so, and I can see this because of my experience on the Destiny farm, where what the environment is created as such that points that are given preference is not rushing around like mad hell to try and make money and ignoring, whatever possible you can ignore to get by and still make money. No, it was you work and consider the point of moving yourself as breath, as the pace of breath, as like a natural expression. That's how I look at it, how I see it, moving as breath, not moving in consideration of money, therefore you do more than the breath, or you try and do twice as much in the breath. It's like, so it's quite extensive, the system, in terms of how we've trapped ourselves now within these systems of making money that have little consideration of humanity, little consideration of life, little consideration of how the physical actually moves, and therefore we're placed into situations where we're attempting to do, 10 times the amount, or the maximum amount that one can do in a single moment, though only to make money. So within those considerations of what it is that one is doing in the moment, such things like providing a safe environment for animals is considered irrelevant. How is that going to bring money in? So it's like you completely miss the point of practical support within this world, and you don't even know what it is. I found that I was surprised when I went to the Destiny Farm, because I realized that I don't even know how to support myself. I don't even know how to consider myself in practical physical support, just like, being gentle on my body and just caring for myself. It's like I completely ignored that. I didn't even really know I was ignoring it. And so now, just working at this horse ranch, it's like you can just see how we've prioritized our life and how it's completely out of control. So that's it. Okay.